London in the 1700s was a city of extremes, a booming metropolis of over 500,000 people, yet plagued by chaos that would reshape the modern city. This was also an era of transformation. Elegant squares rose in the West End, and architects like Christopher Wren rebuilt the city in grand style. Thanks to new advanced AI software, we can now recreate these scenes with unprecedented accuracy. By analyzing actual 18th century paintings and engravings, we're able to show how London is likely to have looked. The architecture, streets, people, and atmosphere of the time, allowing us to step back nearly 300 years and experience the city as Londoners once did.
This is an extraordinary bird's-eye view of the City of London from the mid-18th century. Looking up the River Thames from what would later become the site of Tower Bridge, you're seeing the beating heart of Georgian and London, the world's largest port and the centre of global commerce. Dominating the skyline is Sir Christopher Wren's magnificent St. Paul's Cathedral, completed in 1710 after the Great Fire of 1666 destroyed the medieval city. To the right, you can see the monument to the Great Fire standing as a permanent reminder of the catastrophe that reshaped London. The Thames is crowded with sailing ships and rowing boats. This was London's highway, teeming with trade from across the British Empire. Notice the famous old London Bridge, still lined with houses and shops as it had been for centuries. This view captures London at the height of its Georgian prosperity, when it was transforming from a medieval city into the capital of an emerging global superpower. This is the iconic view from One Tree Hill in Greenwich Park, looking northwest toward London in the mid-18th century. You're standing at what would become one of the most scientifically significant spots on Earth. In 1884, Greenwich was chosen as the location of the prime meridian, making this the center point from which all longitude is measured globally. Below the elegant Queen's House sits nestled between the grand colonnades of Greenwich Hospital, completed in 1751 as a home for retired naval seamen, Britain's version of Lean Valid in Paris. These Baroque masterpieces by Christopher Wren and Nicholas Hawksmoor were statement architecture proclaiming Britain's dominance of the seas. Greenwich was the gateway to London for maritime trade, and this elevated viewpoint allowed visitors to survey the entire approach to the capital. The fashionably dressed figures in the foreground are taking in what was considered one of England's finest prospects. A view that has captivated artists and writers for over 3 centuries and remains virtually unchanged today. This is Leicester Square in the mid-18th century, one of London's most fashionable residential addresses. The grand building dominating the centre is Leicester House, built in 1635 for the Earl of Leicester, and later home to several members of the royal family, including Frederick, Prince of Wales. The square became a magnet for artistic genius. William Hogarth lived and worked at number 31 on the right, marked by a bust of Van Dyck above his door. Opposite at number 47, Sir Joshua Reynolds would establish his portrait studio in 1760, painting the era's most influential figures. Notice the equestrian statue of King George I at the centre of the square, erected in 1753. By this period, Leicester Fields had transformed from open farmland into one of London's most desirable addresses, though its grandest days as a residential square were numbered. Within decades, entertainment would replace aristocracy as the square's defining character. Next, we arrive at the south bank of the Thames, looking across to the Tower of London, Britain's most formidable fortress, seen from the water that once served as both its moat and its highway. For over 700 years, the tower controlled access to the City of London from the river, its imposing stone walls, a statement of royal power. The White Tower, the massive Norman keep at the heart of the complex, was built by William the Conqueror starting in 1078, using Carl's stone imported from France. By this period, the tower served multiple roles simultaneously: royal palace, prison, armory, mint and treasury for the crown jewels. The waterfront you see here was the main entrance for prisoners arriving by barge through Traitor's Gate, including Anne Boleyn and Sir Thomas More before their executions. The various sailing vessels on Thames remind us this was London's commercial artery, with everything from royal barges to merchant ships passing beneath the tower's watchful gaze. This is the bustling courtyard of the Royal Exchange in the 18th century, where global commerce converged in a single magnificent space. Founded by Sir Thomas Gresham in 1565 and modelled on the Antwerp Boars, this was England's first purpose-built trading centre. Merchants from across the globe gathered in this open-air courtyard twice daily. Trading sessions marked by the ringing of the bell in the tower above. Picture this: deals being shouted in dozens of languages, the rustle of bills of exchange, the scratch of quills on contracts. The arcaded walkways on multiple levels housed shops selling luxury goods, books and maps, while Lloyd's of London operated their insurance business from these very galleries. This single building transformed London into a financial superpower, the prototype that would inspire stock exchanges from New York to Hong Kong. This is St. James's Square in the mid-18th century, the pinnacle of aristocratic London and one of the capital's most exclusive addresses. Developed in the 1660s, this square attracted the wealthiest nobility in England. Dukes, earls and prime ministers competed for residences here. What you're seeing is Royal Gardener Charles Bridgeman's 1720s transformation of the square. He installed that elegant basin 150 ft wide and surrounded by 8 stone obelisks bearing lamps enclosed by ornamental ironwork. Before Bridgeman's intervention, the square had been, in the words of residents, rude and in great disorder, muddy, neglected, and frankly embarrassing for such prestigious addresses. St. James's Church spire rises in the distance. Within decades, this square would transition from residential grandeur to the clubs, businesses, and institutions that occupy these buildings today. This is Cheapside, a bustling commercial centre in Georgian London. The name comes from the Old English cheap meaning marketplace, and for centuries this was where fortunes were made. The elegant steeple rising above the street belongs to St. Mary Low, Christopher Wren's masterpiece rebuilt after the Great Fire. Those famous bow bells defined what it meant to be a true Cockney. Anyone born within their sound could claim that proud title. Down this wide avenue, merchants sold everything from silks and jewellery to books and spices. The rows of shops you see lining both sides were among the most expensive retail premises in the world. This wasn't just a street. It was the Oxford Street and Wall Street of the 1700s rolled into one, where London's merchant class built their empires one transaction at a time. History has left us thousands of these remarkable engravings and paintings from cities across the globe, snapshots frozen in time, waiting to be brought back to life. So tell us in the comments, which city would you like to see revived next? Your choice could be featured in our next video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the